My first wife, Judy, back in 1995 had a severe brain hemorrhage, and she was taken straight to hospital where she had surgery. They didn't really expect her to survive, and she was then for months in hospital. And after virtually a year there, we were able to take her into a nursing home. She needed full-time nursing care. I had two boys. They were at the time 14 and 11. After nearly 9 years, we made the decision to bring Judy home. But the lady who was our principal carer after 4 years retired, and we needed to find a replacement. So we advertised the post, and 60 people applied for the job.
Fantastic.
And the lady sitting next to me got the job.
We are in Lowick, where the sun is shining, and we're going to hear a beautiful story from Tracey and Kevin.
So that was 2010, and at that point my 30-year marriage had come to an end, and there was nothing that I could do to change that or save that, or it was moving forward, and I had to keep moving forward with that. The separation between myself and my husband was painful, obviously, because they are, but it was quite amicable because there was still a great amount of respect for each other within that marriage, even though the marriage wasn't working anymore. I hated my job. I worked in an office, and it really wasn't me, but it paid the bills, and you know, I needed to change it. So back in the days when the children were little, I used to work as a care assistant, working in nursing homes and care in the community type situations. And so I saw this job advertised for Judy. So I applied for the job. And I met Judy, who was a wonderful woman, an incredibly strong woman, and I met her at a time when I was quite weak and quite low in my lifestyle. And then I saw Judy. She was severely disabled and had a purpose-built wheelchair, and she had the use of her left hand, and she could speak some words when prompted. You needed to know Judy to know what she was trying to say, and then you
so
could
that
enable
connection
her.
With her was quite important. Quite a lot.
Yes, yeah. She was so brave and so strong. She made me realise, well, what on earth are you moaning about, lady? If you don't like something, you can say. If you're not happy where you are, you can walk away from it. And Judy could do none of those things, yet she still kept smiling, and she still kept loving. She gave the best one-hand hugs I have ever received.
I can imagine, I can imagine.
And so Monday to Friday I worked with Judy, and she put me back together. I would go home at the weekend, Friday afternoon, and I would fall apart for the weekend, and then I had to sober up and come back to work on Monday and do that job again. So over a course of many months and time, she actually healed
sort of saved you a little bit.
She saved me, and you sort of think, well, I'm here to care for you, but in actual fact you're doing far greater job saving and caring for me.
By the end of 2017, Judy, after a succession of struggles, particularly with her kidney, eventually made the very brave decision that rather than face further surgery and or dialysis, would make the decision to come home.
You know, we had a conversation about her being scared, or what was she worried about, and she pointed to Kevin. She was worried about Kevin, and so it was at that stage I kind of made a promise that don't worry about Kevin, and she pointed to me, you look after him.
In that December, Judy passed. She was home just for a few days and was able to hold her granddaughter just for one day. With one visit, she spent the next day entirely in bed, and the following day she'd passed. proposed to Tracey on Cuthbert's Island, which is just off Holy Island. And then come April, we were married. We sold our house the week afterwards. We made an offer on a little cottage near where we lived. They needed 48 hours to consider, and during that time, a property came up on Holy Island, which was this bed and breakfast that we walked past every day. We thought we have to go and look. We did. We negotiated. We made an offer, and so in July of that year, having been married just a few months, and Tracey having lived all her life in Bradford, we found ourselves 10 o'clock at night outside this bed and breakfast with our cat and dog. All our gear was on a removal van off the island.
Next day.
We knew we had guests.
Of the tides.
We knew we had guests.
The tides as well.
We had guests inside, so we had to knock them up. And as they came to the door, the lady, the previous owner, had gone, and we said, "Look, we're sorry to bother you, but you're our guests. May we come in?" And the next morning we were serving them breakfast and just hit the ground running. COVID, that whole period and lockdown was a tough time for so many people. For us, obviously we had no business, although if you're going to be locked down, Holy Island is a beautiful place to be.
It definitely is.
But after all that, we decided, look, we've got resources in ourselves and in our property that could better be deployed elsewhere. Our desire and objective is really to engage as much as we can with folk in the village, and that finds itself in a number of ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, just this ethos of sort of engaging with life as much as we can and saying yes to things. And not sort of thinking that, oh, we can't do that anymore, or
I think
you don't do that at this age. So we took on this place and completely redesigned it, knocked walls down, and made this home. Kevin did a wonderful thing, which was actually, we couldn't go to our neighbours and knock on the door and say, "Hi, we're so-and-so," because we were still on that veil of shouldn't we interact with people after COVID.
Exactly, yeah.
So he wrote a little letter to 5 of our neighbours and popped it through the letterbox just to simply say, "Hi, we're Tracey and Kevin, we've come from Holy Island, we're your new neighbours, and as soon as we can we'd like to have you around for drinks or a coffee," or and just introduce ourselves and just making that first step forward. So that was another thing that we did.
Yeah, prior to COVID we were starting to do some open mic work, and basically my guitar had been in the loft for years. Judy, it would upset Judy if I played it often, because she, her own musical ability was taken away from her. So Tracey said, "Yeah, bring a guitar if you're going to play it." So I started getting involved with some open mic work, and then Tracey, do you want to sort of come along and sing with me some of the songs?
I said no.
Yeah, but she did eventually. And it swung around now that actually I'm Tracey's backing group, and Tracey is the one who actually, with her increased confidence and voice, and we get out to local pubs. We've been professionally engaged a couple of times in Berwick. We've busked for 4 hours on the town hall steps for a charity on an Easter Saturday.
How much did you make busking? How much was it you made?
£272 for Headway.
And what charity was it?
Headway. Which is a
brain injuries charity.
Which is quite close to us because of Judy.
There's a local history group in the village, Lowick Heritage Group, which I am now chair of. Delivered a lecture there on a topic of my choosing, which was really interesting. So there's that. Tracey has been involved with an over 60s group.
Over 60s group, probably about 12 months ago now, joined the over 60s group, which at the moment is roughly 12 ladies, but it's been going since the 80s and possibly before that, but we're trying now to sort of bring it back and revive it and get more people joining in, because we reckon the sort of demographic of the village is most people are over
a good proportion.
Yes, a good proportion. Yeah. So why is there only 12 people in the over 60s group?
You start to question that, don't you? And then
so I went to the last AGM in April, and the lady who's been running it for a long time kind of said, right, we need to do this for the bank now because they're asking for this, so we need a chair, we need a secretary, we need a treasurer, and we have to have a committee, and so she said, and I've had enough of doing it, basically. So I proposed Tracey, and I'd not taken a sip of the coffee, everybody's hands had gone up, and now we're in.
And then our latest project, which we're starting a week on Friday, using the village hall, is something we're calling Cafe Connect. And the idea is on a Friday morning for 9:30 till 12 to use the village hall as a drop-in cafe. So we'll be providing tea, coffee and social activities, a bit about singing, quizzes, storytelling, creative writing, that kind of thing, to try and provide a hub and a focus for folk to gather in the village. We do find ourselves having these fresh opportunities that we really want to say yes to things, we want to be bold with what we're doing. And I suppose, having a situation that we've described as Judy's, it just makes you value every day that you have, and every heartbeat sometimes. So I wrote this book and I entitled it I Am Judith Archer because if she met somebody, that would be something she would say. She would clutch her hand and she would say, I am Judith Archer, almost as a statement of identity. But I have thought since that in one sense, I too was Judy Archer, in the sense of that she was my life, and I was focused in a full way in looking after her. So when she was no longer with us, you suddenly think, well, who am I now? With the radio thing,
Well, that was an extremely good thing, the radio, because we were just coming out of COVID, so people are not yet getting together, and so we're moving into a village and nobody knows us and we don't know the village really. So putting ourselves out there actually meant that we might not know them, but they got to know us.
We broadcast live once a week, and Tracey has now joined me co-hosting
Who knew I could
a radio
do that?
program.
So have you got any advice for anyone who thinks love may not be able to be found above the age of 50?
I think that it's possible for love to be found over the age of 50, and it might not look like what you thought it looked like, you know. So as you see me now, I'm a 60-year-old woman, but there's still a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old and a 50-year-old all within me. So what you see, if you saw pictures of me at those stages, you might think they're totally different women, and they might look like it, but they're all me, and they're all still within me, and I still want to be loved, and I still want to find love, and I still want to have fun. And so I think if you feel in your heart that you would still want those things, I think it's very possible for you to still have those things.
It was an immense privilege to spend those 22 years looking after Judy. I once pulled out an old photograph of hers for when she was about 3 years old, clutching a teddy. And I found it quite emotional to find that picture, because just to think that somewhere down the line, this little girl would need somebody to look after her totally. And I was privileged to be that person. But the way things have worked, I now have a carer. And who knew? Who knew that would happen?
I think that works out both ways. I think that works out both ways. You care for me and I care for you.
But as well, I think
that's what we do.